All right, so hi everyone. What we're going to do today is I want to show you some pretty basic but straightforward and hopefully helpful ways to improve your writing. So what we're going to do in this activity is, and you can do this like on your own, like after watching this and you're like, okay, I'm going to try it with my own stuff. What I did is I wanted to start with 10 basic and boring sentences, but all kind of on the same subject. So my goal is to kind of create the shell of a story and work my way up. I think sometimes we feel like when we're learners, we feel like people who know how to write stories, they write the most amazing story from start to finish, and they don't really have to improve along the way, that they're just naturally that good. And maybe some people are, but I would argue that most people are not. Most people have to write and then make changes and then write and make more changes and write and make more changes. So that's what we're going to do. So what I did is I started with the story. I've got 10 basic sentences about this one guy named David. And throughout my story, I'm going to make intentional and targeted changes that hopefully improve. So here are my 10 basic and boring sentences, all on the same subject. There is a man. His name is David. He is from a different country. He is tall. He has brown hair. He is shy. He likes to travel. He drinks coffee. He has no family. He is lost. So when I was writing this, I really didn't have an idea of where I was going to go with it. It was actually only as I started writing it more that I was like, oh, I think I've got a better idea of where I want to take this. So you don't even have to have an idea of the whole story. Just start with 10 sentences. So let's talk. What's successful? What's unsuccessful? So what's successful is it's grammatically correct, right? It's clear. What is unsuccessful is it's very boring. No one is going to read this and be like, oh my gosh, bestseller. So we're going to try and add some spark and flair. So next, think of the emotion that you want your reader to have while reading your text. Consider adjectives to help them picture what you're reading. So an adjective is a word that describes a noun. So it's a word that, if like pretty, nice, tall, pink, horrible, those kind of words. Words that describe the things that we're talking about. So I'm not even coming up with crazier words. It's just more words. So let's read here. So this is the green is kind of what's going on in my thoughts. I want to portray David as being mysterious. In my mind, David is a bit of a gentle giant who has some difficulty in the past. I want to create a situation in which the reader wants to know, should say wants, to know more about David, but are forced to learn about him one bit at a time, not all at once. I want to build suspense. I want the readers to struggle with the mystery of trying to find out who David is and why he is on his emotional and physical journey. I want my readers to feel connected to David, even though David does not feel connected to anyone. So I want it to be mysterious. That's my main goal. So I've got everything in red that's underlined. These are my new words that I've added since the last page. So there's a calm and patient man. His name is David. He is from a different and faraway country. He is unusually tall. He has faded brown hair. He is unapologetically shy. He travels, he reads, he has no family. He is emotionally lost and unencumbered. So some of the words that I had in here, I could have had different words. Instead of having like there's a calm and patient man, I could have said there's a quiet and drowsy man, or there is a kind and loving man. It doesn't matter. I'm just giving more detail to his personality. And I could switch those adjectives at another time. But instead of just having, like right up here, I've got there is a man. Well, that sounds very boring. Now I've got there is a calm and patient man. Now I've got already at least a bit more of an idea in my mind of who this man is. So step 3, look at our adverbs. The adverbs are basically the same as adjectives, but for verbs. Instead of describing people, places, things, they describe the way we do things. So it says, look at your adverbs, try to create a sense of place or a sense of homelessness. What you can add to your verbs makes them say more. So the green again, this is my internal thoughts here. I want to portray David as being mysterious, but also I want to make it look like David is on an emotional journey. He is searching for something. Maybe he has been emotionally hurt in the past. Maybe he has never felt a sense of accomplishment or acceptance. But I want my adverbs to make David sound, what's up with all these typos? Sound alone and isolated. I want the reader to feel sorry for David. So everything now in black I've carried on since the last page. The new stuff as of this page is in the red. So there is a calm and patient man. His name is David. He is from a different and faraway country. He is unusually tall. He has faded brown hair. He is unapologetically shy. He travels wearily and mechanically. He reads painstakingly slowly. He has no family. He is emotionally lost and unencumbered. So by adding in that he reads painstakingly slowly. I'm trying to make it look like maybe he's not that good of a reader. If I said he reads incredibly quickly, there's nothing wrong with that. But now I'm going to have a different picture in my mind of who this David guy is. So again, you choose the adverbs that work for you, but simply having more adverbs than, because I had no adverbs in my first story. Now that I'm on my third sort of page here, it's starting to come together a little bit more. It's a little bit more interesting. You choose the words, just make sure you have words. What is successful? I'm starting to get an idea in my mind of who David is, like a glimpse, nothing more. And that's the unsuccessful part, is I'm starting, but I'm not even there yet. I don't even care about David at this point. I don't even care to read about David at this point, but maybe there's hope. So step 4, look at the things that you can add that will provide an explanation or context. Help people to connect to your characters or your story by giving some background information. So again, the green, this is my thoughts. I want to take the idea of David and turn him into someone that we can not only imagine, but feel as though maybe we know and understand. I can't leave the sentence as surface level descriptions of David. I need to now add details wherever possible so that if I give David a certain quality, his like mini stories help to give background to his qualities. If I say he is shy, I want a glimpse into why he is shy. If I say he's from a faraway country, I want to make it sound really far away. If I name the country that he's from, then all of a sudden it doesn't sound so far away at all. I have to add details that either help the reader picture David or help add mystery to David. So basically, everything in red here, it's not necessarily an adverb or an adjective or punctuation. It's just background information. I've made a statement, and now I'm adding on to that statement before I go to my next statement. So let's read. There is a calm and patient man. His name is David. He never knew his father, but likes to pretend that he was named after someone important. I made that up. I don't know this guy named David. But in my mind, I'm like, ooh, it sounds deep and philosophical. And so I put that in there. He is from a different and faraway country. One could spend 10 months observing the man and still not have the faintest clue which country he calls home. Again, because I'm trying to make him sound mysterious. I want people to know him, but not well. He is unusually tall, but his height seemed to him to be something more of a nuisance rather than a gift of nature. This I added to give a sense of conflict. I want, like, he's unusually tall. That's great. Remember, originally it was he is tall. Then it became he is unusually tall. But I want to make it look like being tall is a struggle for him. It's not something that's maybe helped him through life. This guy has some stuff going on in his life, and I want the reader to maybe feel sorry for him. He has faded brown hair. What he knew about his mother suggested that this was one of the few things they had in common. Again, I want this guy to sound lost. And if hair color is one of the only things he has in common with his mom, that's a pretty sad state of affairs for his relationship. So just an easier way for me to be like, hair? Yeah, okay, hair's unimportant. Well, that's the most important thing he has in common with his mom, which then makes it sound distant. He is unapologetically shy, but in a way that makes him seem, so with all these typos, seem like a strong and patient survivor. He travels wearily and mechanically, going from place to place, always in search of something that he has never been able to find. He reads painstakingly slowly. Although he struggles to connect words and sounds, he has always felt blissfully content connecting words to ideas. This is the one where I want to make it sound like, well, I want people to wonder in their minds, why is he a slow reader? Is he struggling with maybe intelligence? Is he struggling with confidence? Has he never read before? I want them to wonder why, because most people read at an average speed. That's why it's an average. It's like the middle ground of people, they all speak at a same and read at a same amount of, or same pace. And if he doesn't, it sets him apart from people. Well, why is he not average? So he has no family. Some people should never become parents. That was a line that I threw in there to, again, make people think, oh my gosh, what happened? I'm not telling them what happened. I want people to wonder what happened. And I'm not saying he has no family because they died or because they ran away. Well, that would be filling in the gaps for my reader. I don't want my reader to know everything all at once. I want there to be this sense of wonder. He is emotionally lost and unencumbered, but knows deep down that he wants love more than anything else in this world. So that last line I put in there when I said he's emotionally lost, I don't want to make it look like he's just always going to be lost forever. I want to make it look like maybe he's got a goal. He's got something that he knows he wants, but he has no idea how to get it. And he's not been able to get it ever. And so that's why I threw in the line about the love. Again, I don't even know where I'm going with this story. But I thought, oh, that's kind of neat. I'll throw that in there, see how it works. And right now I think it actually works really well. But who knows? Maybe I'll change it down the road. So step 5, eliminate any unnecessary repetition. So now that I have my basic portrayal of David, I realize that I have said the word he a gazillion times. I need to go back though and somehow present the idea of he and David using a greater variety of words. If I don't, then I either risk sounding like I don't know many words, or people reading my story will get stopped mentally every time they see the word he. I want my sentences to flow beautifully, and if they can't flow, if they keep reading the same sort of stop sign. So everything in here now, it's almost like in the last page I was building up. On this page, I'm going back down through my story and I'm making it better, cleaner. So it's not just simply volume. That was all what we just did. Now we want it to be tidier. So instead of saying he, that's way too much, that's annoying, I'm finding different ways to refer to him without saying the word he. And that is what helps make a little bit of style. There is a calm and patient man. His name is David. He never knew his father, but likes to pretend that he was named after someone important. This tired and weary traveler is from a different and faraway country. One could spend 10 months observing the man and still not have the faintest clue which country he called home. While his frame is unusually tall, his height seemed to him to be something more of a nuisance rather than a gift of nature. Faded brown hair crowns his weary face. What he knew about his mother suggested that this was one of the few things they had in common. He is unapologetically shy, but in a way that makes him seem like a strong and patient survivor. David travels wearily and mechanically, going from place to place, always in search of something that he's never been able to find. This distant wanderer reads painstakingly slowly. Although he struggles to connect words and sounds, he has always felt blissfully content connecting words to ideas. He has no family. Some people should never become parents. Our soul-searching nomad is emotionally lost and unencumbered, but knows deep down that he wants love more than anything else in this world. So I think this sounds a little bit better because now I'm expanding my word choice. I'm not just sticking with the same word 10 times. Step 6. Go back and work in different ways to start your sentences. Perhaps start a sentence with an adverb, a question, an exclamation. So again, the green is, these are my thoughts. At this point, I'm pretty content with the content of what I have written. Now I want to go back and add a bit of linguistic flair, something that proves that I can handle sentences that do not always have the same style. To accomplish this, I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to try to start at least one sentence with an adverb, and then I'm going to try to reword the order of the words in another sentence. My entire sentence might change by doing so, but hopefully I will shake up the word order just enough to sound poetic. Hopefully it will work. So, you know how if you see your friends go to school in the same clothes every day, you're like, yep, I can predict that. But if one day your friend shows up and they've got on like a new shirt or a new hat, it's like, ooh, that's awesome. That's kind of what we want to do. We want our sentences to not always be the same order of like nouns and pronouns and verbs and articles. We want to make the actual grammar different, not the content. So I'm just changing around the word order at this point. Shamefully and apologetically, a calm and patient man appeared as though not by choice. And I think in doing this, I changed it unapologetically to apologetically. I think I just switched that halfway through. David is the name with which he most usually identifies. He never knew his father, but likes to pretend that he was named after someone important. This tired and weary traveler is from a different and faraway country. One could spend 10 months observing the man and still not have the faintest clue which country he called home. Although grotesquely tall typically described his stature, his height seemed to him to be something more of a nuisance rather than a gift of nature. Faded brown hair crowns his weary face. What he knew about his mother suggested that this was one of the few things they had in common. He is unapologetically shy, but in a way that makes him seem like a strong and patient survivor. David travels wearily and mechanically, going from place to place, always in search of something that he has never been able to find. This distant wanderer reads painstakingly slowly. Although he struggles to connect words and sounds, he has always felt blissfully content connecting words to ideas. No family cared to call him their own. Some people should never become parents. Our soul-searching nomad is emotionally lost and unencumbered, but knows deep down that he wants love more than anything else in this world. So, oddly enough, what I found when I did this is by changing the order of the words, my language sounded more impressive. Because I had to find different ways of expressing the same idea, and I happened to find better words. So again, a nice easy trick is just simply changing around your order, and in doing so, even just simply but you're not going to have like, let me just give you an example that would be silly. If it was like, let's say, faded brown hair crowns his weary face, you're not going to say face weary his crowns hair brown faded. That's not what I mean. You're not just going to take the words and put them in like a weird order. You could either say faded brown hair crowns his weary face. You could switch it as his weary face was crowned by faded hair, or crowning his weary face, faded brown hair fell down his hair like a waterfall, right? Simply starting the sentence with one of these words, hair, which some might call faded brown, was simply something which he wore, not something which he blah, 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 okay? Pick a word and choose that word to start the sentence, and then simply change the rest of your sentence to match that grammatically, and then hopefully that'll work. Step 7, go back and check for congruity, verb tenses, content. Do things feel as though they all belong? So at this point now, this is kind of like your final draft, and you're just tidying things up. You're like, okay, well, I switched that around, and that got switched, and that got switched. Now you're going through to make sure it flows well together. So far, I like what I have written. However, at this point, I feel like the name David is too familiar sounding. I am trying to portray a man who comes from afar. David is a very common and familiar name. I need to choose a name, but I have to be careful of the name that I choose. I still want David to sound like a bit of a mystery. If I give him a name that sounds distinctly European, Asian, Latin American, etc., then he doesn't sound mysterious at all, as I will be able to culturally pinpoint him to a certain location. I want the name to sound tired, dusty, simple, it should say simple, and worn, but most importantly, foreign. How am I going to do this? I will make it up. I need to include letters of the alphabet that we don't typically use in English. A Wikipedia article on the frequency of letters in English shows that the following letters are rather rare. So J, Q, K, V, X, and Z. The two least common vowels are U and Y. So now I need to combine these letters to create a name that sounds foreign and rare and not inadvertently inappropriate or silly. So J, Q, K, V, X, Z, U, Y. So playing around with these letters, here are some of the names that I came up with, which I thought were fairly workable. I can't even pronounce any of these, but here they are. After looking at these words, for some reason, they don't quite fit the idea that I have in my mind. So I need to adjust. I will add an I into the mix. And here are a bunch of the other names. And what I did is, as I was typing this, I just simply took the letters and I just went bloop, 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 bloop. And then I was like, okay, that didn't work. Bloop, 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 bloop. And I just typed them up in a different order. Finally, I got to this one. Uvuge. I like that one. It sounds like a name. It doesn't sound something made up or like maybe accidentally racist. It sounds legitimate. So that's it. I wrote names until I found one that I liked. Uvuge it is. I like it because Y is not a very strong sound, and I want David to sound mortal and unconfident. It is a name that, because of the abundance of soft vowel sounds, does not sound like an extremely powerful or assertive name. So Uvuge it is. The name belongs to nowhere and does not carry an identity, just like David. So here's the same story, but with Uvuge. I'm not going to read it out because you can read it out. I literally just read the same thing out like a minute ago. So what we want to do with this, the step 7, is you're going back to make it flow nicely, and you want your sentences to make sense with each other. If you have one sentence that is really, really formal and incredibly written, and you've got one sentence that is not feeling so polished, this is now your chance to try and polish it up. All right, step 8. So now we're going to go back in and add in any final transitions or explanations that would help the reader. So we've kind of done a lot of adding of details, going back, getting rid of unnecessary words. We originally added explanations. Now we have to look at, we've got ideas. Is there anything missing between those ideas? So this is not even the whole story. This would be like a paragraph in a novel. But look at what we started from. We started way up here with this ridiculous collection of sentences. And now we're at a point where I'm actually really proud of this. Like, this looks amazing. Look how there's so many words. And it's actually really, I think, quite interesting to read. I quite like the idea of this character that I've created. And really, it was just step by step by step. So this step here, again, is anything that can connect our ideas, anything that feels missing, that I'm like, could I add here? Yes, I can. So, shamefully and apologetically, a calm and patient but worn out man appeared on the outskirts of humanity, as though not by choice. The dusty, empty wind that day seemed to foreshadow his arrival. That was just like a sentence that I kind of wanted to make the whole story sound more poetic, so I put that in there. I don't know, could you even say that a wind is dusty and empty? I mean, I guess you look at it, you're like, yeah, I don't see anything, it's an empty wind. But I wanted to kind of sound mysterious. So I put that line in there, and I think it kind of helped. So Yuvuj is the name with which he most usually identifies. He never knew his father, but likes to pretend that he was named after someone important. Perhaps someone capable of achieving great things or restoring peace to troubled times. So what I did is I just took the idea of this. He was hoping to be named after someone important. And then I just kind of expanded on that idea. This fatigued and weary traveler emerged haphazardly and unnoticed from a distant and faraway country. I want people to know that he didn't just appear and people were like, whoa, look at this guy, he appeared. I want it to be more like he appeared, no one noticed. One could spend 12 years observing the man and still not have the faintest clue which country he called home. Although distortedly and unimposingly tall, because I think I had before grotesquely tall, and I feel like that didn't work because I didn't want to make him sound hideous. I wanted it to just sound awkward. His height seemed to him to be something more of a nuisance rather than a gift of nature. Wispy locks of faded brown hair clumsily crown his weary face. Again, and I have the word clumsily added in there because I don't want to make it look like he put gel in his hair and made it look like he's got these amazing beach perfect locks that are around his face. I want to make it look like he just maybe rolled out of bed. He's been walking for 4 days straight, and that's why his hair looks like it. What he knew about his mother suggests that this was one of the few things they had in common. He is unapologetically shy, but in a way that makes him seem like a persistent and patient survivor. Yuvuj, the weary and mechanical traveler, meanders through this world in much the same way that he has meandered through life, going from place to place, always in search of something that he has never been able to find, and not entirely sure of the object of his desires. He knows not what he is searching for, just that he has never been able to find that what is missing. Dependent on interpreting the world around him, this distant wanderer reads painstakingly slowly. Although he struggles to connect words and sounds, he has always felt insatiably content connecting words to ideas. No family cared to call him their own. Some people should never become parents. So actually what I did here, I changed the punctuation. I think I had a period and a capital S. What I want to do is I want to make it look like no one wanted him to be part of the family, because that family should never have been a family in the first place. It was not a good idea. And so by connecting them through punctuation, the ideas are now more connected. Our soul-searching nomad is emotionally lost and unencumbered, but knows deep down that he wants love more than anything else in this world. He wants to give love. So now what I'm doing here is I'm now talking about the love piece. I am going full on explaining what is it that he actually wants, because I want the reader to be like, I'll give him that love. I will help him be in love. I want them to be that connected. He wants to give love. He wants to receive love. But most importantly, he wants to actually feel love. Not the kind of love that ignites two souls into eternal unity. The kind of love that is thicker than life itself. The kind of love that connects you to a place in your being to the world. Yuvuj wanted to feel the kind of love that just might save him from his entire past and present. The kind of love that helps existence mean something. So when we look at what is successful, I think there's a lot that's successful in this version compared to this version. In our final version, we have description, we have explanation, we have background stories, we have sentence variety, we have expanded vocabulary. What doesn't work? Actually, that sounded really arrogant. I'm like, what doesn't work? I don't even know. I would maybe say some people might not want to read about it. They might be like, yeah, so here's some guy that just kind of showed up. Who cares? Do we really know where the story's going? Not yet. So maybe somebody hasn't actually felt connected to him. Maybe I could have inserted that in there grammatically, not grammatically, with my ideas, so that way people could be like, oh, okay, now I want to read about this guy. Grammatically and description-wise, I think this is actually, I'm really pleased with this. So there we are. I hope this helps, and good luck with creating interesting writing.